everybody. I'm George.
And I'm Bob. We're the Shipping Goblins from Beetle and Grips. Today, we're going to talk about the amazing Map Vault Collection. And with the Map Vault Collection, you get a bunch of gorgeous two-sided maps, all scaled for standard minis.
Yeah, get yours now for the Map Vault Collection from Beetle and Grim, and all the players at your table will be revved up and hyper because the only thing they'll be able to say is...
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
Zoinks!
Yeah, do it again.
Zoinks!
Hello?
Who do you think you are?
Yes, Mr. Lillard.
You're just some goblin.
Yes, sir.
You can't just go off and use my
It's your
voice
thing.
like that. I have rights.
Completely. We just thought...
Wait,
okay.
I'm gonna take this right to
yes,
the
sir.
beetle. Hey, Grim.
Thank you, sir.
What happened?
Matthew Lillard watches our show!
Zoinks!
Double
And hello, we're on. I think we're on. Ipsy, let us know. This is the emergency IT elf. She'll let us know if there's sound and movement.
Yeah,
we're
there's
good.
sound.
We're cool. We're good. We're good to go. Right. So, hello, welcome to Band of Badgers. I am Dave. I am not your GM this evening, but I am, of course, your host. And this is the Great British Brush Off. And these are my guests. How you doing, everyone? How is it? Hello. You can
Pretty
talk.
good.
Jake can't talk because he's doing some 3D printing in the background. Hopefully, it's all legal.
Oh, I'll talk.
Yeah,
Once you get me started, I won't stop.
let it beep. It's fine.
Let it beep. It's fine.
Yeah, ding, it's done. So welcome, of course, to our special guest artist. This is Jake Noorman, everybody. Hi, Jake. From
Hey, Internet.
Mini Terrain Domain. He's got to keep unmuting every time now. How you doing, Jake?
I'll just leave it unmuted. I'll own the fact that, like Eric said, I'm printing 3D printing miniatures on a miniature painting stream. Who's going to be mad about the sound in the background?
Yeah, lean into it.
Right.
No one would be mad.
That'll be our next show. We'll come back in a few months. We're like, yeah, we're going to do some mini 3D printing. And just put a camera on it. I'll just watch it. we'll come back.
It's extra exciting for me because the print that's happening is literally my first ever 3D print. I just put this printer together yesterday and got it dialed in today. I didn't realize that a little puppy would take 2.5 hours to print. So lesson 1, right?
Welcome to the new plastic drug. You have found the equivalent to crack for your hobbyist.
Yep.
You're doing the form of PLA.
Yeah.
We bought like 5 of them for our game shop so we could like print up custom miniatures for a game that a company is working on. And now that we're closed for COVID, they're just sitting there, and I want to like break in and print a bunch of stuff.
And the man who needs no introduction. This is, of course, ERIK FRANKHOUSE. He's just having a drink. How you doing, ERIK? You all good?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy few months joining Norse Foundry and doing Fenrir Rising, and then as of January, I picked up an art director position for Total Party Kill Games.
Nice, very nice.
So I've been in the thick of it.
we will have to have a pop. We will pop. See, there's the best thing about what I've found is about painting minis is just your brain can just talk. You can just chat away. It all comes up. But anyway, so on with the show. We've had 2, one subscription, 1 follow. Thank you very much. Who is that? Let's have a look. Oh, Will Dockerell. Thank you very much, sir. So as always, thank you to Beetle and Grim. They are not just supporters of this particular show, but our entire repertoire of shows. And just in case you didn't know, we have a load of stuff coming. I think eventually we'll be streaming something silly like 7 nights a week. So do check that out. Check out our schedule. Thank you, Cole Sparks, for following. Of course, not just Beetle and Grim, but thank you to WizKids and especially VMuse for making this possible, because they sent us all of these kind of minis that we're painting. It's all kind of connected. It really is. Now, not in the box below me, but actually in the box below Jake, you'll find all our various other supporters and companies and clubs and all kinds of things. Anyone who is sending us a discount, we pass that on directly to you, the audience, for watching. Doesn't matter if you're on Twitch or YouTube. Use those discounts, save yourself a few quid, and treat yourself. It's 2021. You might as well. Now, if you would like to support us, of course you can. We're on Twitch, which means there are Twitch Prime subs to do. We've already had one in the first few minutes. Please keep doing it. It doesn't cost you anything if you're using Amazon Prime. It just means that it keeps us in a couple of quid that we can spend on pizza, really. That's pretty much it. Today is Monday as we're going live, which means the rest of the week. On Thursday, we have Runelords. It's getting really interesting now. We're getting into Chapter 4, so do join us for that. Friday, we're back with Annihilation, Tomb of Annihilation from Dungeons & Dragons. Sunday is going to be really special. Sunday at 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, we are launching the first of our 2 new shows. It's Vampire the Masquerade, so do join us for that. You will not want to miss this. It's going to be superb. And then next Tuesday, we start our second new show. And this is Vaesen. It's very kind of Nordic noir. A bit like folklore legends, a little bit scary, a couple of mysteries. We have some fantastic guests lined up for both Vampire and Vaesen, so do join us for that. I can take a breath now, and I just want to see who is joining us this evening. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody who's out there. Sean TW, he's a local cartoonist, artist. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you. I nearly said it again, Princess Leia. Sorceress Sundries, Leia, thank you very much for joining us. You'll see that Leia has actually provided us with a discount to her store in the box. Which way is it? That way. In the box that's down there, under Jake, you'll find a discount for Sorceress Sundries. Do check that out. Thank you, Jake, that one. Let's just see who else is there. 88 Riddles. Thank you much for joining us. I've not seen you before, but great name. Love it.
88 Riddles does custom boxes for like painting custom boxes. I pinged him to come over here.
Nice.
What's up, buddy?
Really?
Yeah, he paints all the stuff from Elderwood. He does amazing work. He's doing custom ones for Fenrir right now, which I'm super pumped to see.
Well, 88 Riddles, get in touch. If you'd like to come on the show, I don't know if you paint. Not painting, but gaming. If you want a game, come on one of the other shows. Let us know.
He does. He does both.
There we go. Baron, Snowhand, thank you very much for joining us again. Corden Boy, Carbon, thank you for that. Chav Hunter, you're back. Well done. Who's that? Is there anyone in live chat who is going to be painting with us? Do shout out. Let us know. And if you are, or if you have any watching on YouTube, then send us your pictures. Let us know on social. Send them over. Sorry, Steve,
Yeah,
what was that?
we've already had a couple of people saying that they're painting along with us.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Looks like my fan club just showed up.
Weird.
Yes, Sorceress Sundries is painting.
Cool.
So,
We got Cole Sparks in the audience. Thank you for joining. Hellsong again. Frank, Eric, Eric, FRANKHOUSE.
Everyone calls me FRANKHOUSE. You can call me by my last name. My girl of like 16 plus years calls me by my last name. Totally fine.
Or Jake Noorman. If you see anyone in live chat and you want to shout out to them, please do. Ipsy, Lemon Juices, Team Squad Up. Now, is that the team connected to the Maguire? Oh, Maguire reviews here. Hey, Josh, how you doing? Trontonian, We Deny.
Team Squad Up does some really fantastic charity fundraising for Jesse's Journey and Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. I've run some games and produced some games for them. My friend Gary, who also joins us on the Talon and Claw Sea of Thieves stream on Sunday nights, which also ties into 88 Riddles, because 88 Riddles designed a Sea of Thieves themed t-shirt that Talon and Claw is now selling on their Etsy shop. When the Kraken shows up, we immediately start yelling out, "Watch the suck! Watch the suck!" So there's this beautiful 88 Riddles design of Kraken tentacles with the hand lettering "Watch the suck." It's amazing.
Riddles, drop me that T-shirt design. I want to see it. Put it in Discord to me.
So anyone and everyone, if you're watching this on YouTube, watching us live now, if you want to come and play, or you have a product, or you're a designer, a writer, an artist, a creator, come and join us, and we'll give you the badge of bump. It's not as rude as it sounds, but it's just to come on, have some fun, do some chats. It's really cool. So today, of course, this is Jake's show. We're going to hand it over to him. He's going to teach us how to paint the Pathfinder Deep Cuts Elemental Collection. So it's not even just one mini, it's all 4. I don't know if we can even do that in 2 hours, but we're going to give it a try. I'm 3 lessons in. I can do this.
Also, full disclosure before we start, yes, I have got my nails painted. My daughter did them, and I'll do anything during lockdown just to keep them entertained. So, yeah, there you go.
I mean, really, it's just, isn't it relaxing? You just get to sit there, cringe, watch them paint your entire hand a color, and then peel it off with nail polish remover.
Yeah, I just haven't got around to the nail polish remover bit yet because I don't own any nail polish remover. So.
Oh, I meant the paint on your hand. Keep the fingernails painted. That's totally fine.
For sure.
Cool.
So,
Right.
can we open these puppies?
Wait, whoa. Easy. Right, here we go, Jake.
Mine
Over to
already
you.
done.
Are we cracking? Which one are we starting with? Which one are you going to go with? And then we'll crack it open.
I'm going to tell you, I already told you, first of all, the stream is well underway. You're stuck with me. I've hijacked them. They have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is the first time I've ever painted a miniature.
So he says we're going to paint a dragon.
But I have said that I'm going to. I use unconventional means. I'm sure there are people that are professional painters or have more experience than me that are going to cringe at some of my choices, but the ends justifies the means is what I say. So I've also said I'm a little bit ADHD. I'm opening all 4 of these packs right now.
Yeah, let's go.
So here's what I'm saying. I think you should. I'm going to probably throw paint on all 4 of these elementals. And there's actually 2 in each of these. So you got to fall back if you think you screwed up. But come on, they're elementals and it's just paint.
Yep.
It's just paint. You can't really screw them up.
You can strip them at worst.
Has anyone pointed out the Band of Badgers is abbreviated as Bob, and you're doing a painting show, and you don't have a Bob Ross emote?
I have now.
Yeah, we'll get on it.
Yeah.
So
You know, my kids love watching that show.
Getting the last one out here, and the great thing about these elementals is I really do think we're going to be able to get paint to some degree on all 4 of these because of the nature. 3 of them are translucent. You might lose some of that translucence depending on how much and what paint you put on them. But it's also part of what makes it so easy to get the desired effects with what we're doing here. I like to the first thing I do is just take a quick look at the sculpt just to see if anything stands out. Obviously, water elemental, you're dealing with living water. Same thing with air and fire. But I only just noticed this with the earth elemental. They've thrown a bit of a curve. There are crystals coming out of this.
Yeah.
So I grabbed a couple paints that weren't on the original paint list, which, let's be honest, my paint list was basically, here, grab some primary and secondary colors.
Yep.
I chose, if we get to the crystals, I'm going to do green. Looks like my camera's a little washed out, but what I took was a new shamrock green and a neon. Now, this is the first point where miniature painters are probably cringing because I'm holding in my hand apple barrel craft paints.
Totally fine.
But as with any miniature painting, you want to thin your paints out anyway. You just need to thin these out a little bit more. Unless you don't want to. Do what you want. I'm not your dad. I'm willing to adopt you if you want me to be your dad, but I'm not. So why don't we just get started with, let's start with this water elemental. Now, I didn't think to get my glue gun out here and grab a cap to throw it on. So I'm going to get that out now.
We just had a comment about your camera, so I'm going to recapture it, and then we'll see if that improves it.
About my camera?
Yeah, about your desk cam. So we're just going to see if we can...
Is it too blown out, too blurry?
Yeah, they're saying it's a little bit blurry. I don't know if it's needs to be...
Mine.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is I took the autofocus off because if you look now, I'm going to be painting at about this level. That's what you really want to see.
Yeah, I think it's just where you've got them on the
I think because I have them down here, they're not quite in focus. So I'll hold them up here as I'm showing them off here. So you should be able to see a good view of this Earth Elemental with the crystals I was talking about. I did just set my glue gun up on the side. I don't know if any of you are using any kind of holders for your minis. I still don't have.
Good old
I got the 3D printer. I'm going to 3D print myself a holder here soon.
Remind me to send you a really good link for one.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm using disposable shot glass.
So let's go ahead, since I got to wait for the glue gun to heat up a little bit. I wanted to hit this water elemental first, but do you have in your colors some kind of a gray wash or a light gray or medium gray paint?
A somber grey? So
Let's see, let's grab that, and I'm going to use this.
Can I just do some diluted black for it?
That could work too, because we do want to be able to come in with the black wash potentially over that. So I've got this medium gray here.
Well, I'll do
got either a light or a dark grey.
Are we washing it or are we painting?
It's going to be basically a wash over this whole thing. We're going to try it with the air elemental in particular. We're going to try to keep as much of this translucence as possible. I think I'm going to try turning my light down here. I think this is blowing out.
So
did my camera switch angles again on us?
Twitch is asking what's with the stars on the cameras. Basically, that's people that have won in the past streams. So this week, Jake's going to choose who has done the best, and then Eric's going to choose who comes second, and that would be the gold and silver stars. So
what I'm doing is, I think my white balance is going screwy. I just moved everything around because of oh, there it is.
Blame COVID.
Yep, blame COVID.
Yep.
I just moved everything around so I could put that 3D printer together, and I'm casting around looking for everything now. So this is something I learned. I got yelled at by a friend, and I take this advice now. When mixing, so I'm just going to thin this out with water. I'm using the back end of my brush to do this because I got yelled at for using the bristles to mix paint.
That is a truthful statement. Don't do that.
I mean,
unless you have a jump brush.
It's pretty obvious. It's going to mess up your bristles. It's going to mess up your bristles if you do it a lot, and it's going to mess up the ferrule where they connect.
Well, a lot of times you end up cramming paint all the way up inside of it, and then you never wash it out properly. Even if you use soap for it, it just doesn't come out.
So what's the ratio are you doing of paint to water?
A little to a little.
Okay.
So yeah, there's not going to be a lot of measurements here. I eyeball everything, including my cooking. That's why nobody will eat my chili but me.
I'd probably give it a go.
This is why I need a wet palette, because I just make my colors up as I go, and then sometimes I end up spending time trying to find what that color was that I used.
So have you seen these brushes, boys?
No.
Gears and Games.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yes. I think I've definitely
using them
seen
'cause I
somebody
was
using them.
traveling so much that they travel really well, except that you get
Yeah.
stopped in the airport every single time. And then this one you might like for doing detail work. I see if I can get this in focus. It's a katana. It's a rubber quill.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Holds paint for doing like detail painting. I got these in like a Kickstarter, and I started using them, and I put away all of my like high-end Windsors and stuff to use these instead because I enjoyed them way more.
So what I basically did with this is, if you were watching, is I kept adding water until as I pull the paint away on the plate here, it thins out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want. We want it super thin because we're basically just going to wash over this. I'm holding this by the base, and I'm just going at it. I'm just going for it.
All over. Just all over.
Yep. It's an air elemental. The really cool thing is if you want to get crazy with it, get wild with it, you can, since it's got the sort of earthy base, when you get near the end, you can even add some of the dirt colors and stuff at the bottom, like it's just beginning to pick up some of that. Now, I thought I could get away without doing this, but I'm going to have to get extra nerdy here and put on my artificer's goggles. Because as my hair and beard no doubt betray me, I am not as young as I once was. So I need to be able to see what I'm doing here. And I'm just slapping this paint on here. And mostly what we're looking for is that it's going to sit down in all those low spots. So you're going to end up with basically a lot of the translucent stuff sort of peeking through, and we want that.
Now, these are not primed. These
No.
are clear ones, correct?
Not the clear ones.
So do we have to wait a lot longer for these to dry then?
I think only because we're using sort of the wash. If you're like me, you have a heat gun or hair dryer on hand and you don't wait for anything.
Yeah, I normally
Because
do.
again, as I said, ADHD, and also no patience. But yeah,
earlier today it was like, Jake, do we need anything else other than paint? No. He's brought out goggles. We watered down things.
Well, I don't know what your eyesight's like, so I didn't mention goggles.
Hair dryer.
Straight line to us.
Yeah, see, that's where I put myself in the. I make myself look better by saying, this is all you need. If you're like me, you've got all these other pieces of equipment. Look, the dryer that I use, this thing, is always at my side. I don't even know what brand it is because it wore off. like 10 years ago, my wife was in the scrapbooking.
Oh.
And this was when she stopped doing that. I snagged this out of a garage sale pile, and it's been my crafting heat gun ever since.
So I have a Pittsburgh tool from like, I don't know what it'd be in the UK, but out here for Harbor Freight, I have one of the Pittsburgh green ones, a little heat gun, and mine holds a battery pack in it, which
nice.
means you don't have to have it plugged in. Super happy about that.
I always mute up, of course, when I use that.
Have you all been painting during quarantine a lot? I mean, obviously, I would assume Jake has been, but what about the rest of you?
This is show number 4, so no.
Okay.
Yeah. How we feeling about the gray on your air elementals?
I cheated. I went purple black.
Oh, let me rephrase that. How do we feel about the color we put on our air elementals?
Yeah, good.
I love transparent minis. I'm gonna light this afterwards, I think.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things, even with some paint on them, is if you can drill up into them, you can add LEDs, things like that. So I'm already going to move on to another one. Is everybody? Everybody got some gray on there?
Just going to do a quick shout out there. So there's a guy in our Badger Club called Alex. He's been there since the beginning. So Alex, if you heard that, did you clock the LED reference? I'm just saying. This time next year, we could be millionaires, man. Just saying.
I love LED lighting stuff. Malifaux, I have a huge smoke set for one of them. They're like that smoky gray color, the color we're trying to paint right now, actually. And I lit all those up, and I love it. I love doing LED lighting. My buddy was a manager for Games Workshop at a store, and I used to go there when I lost my job, and I would go there and paint every day. So I learned a lot there, which was super fun.
So
Miss those.
is everybody still working on their air elemental?
I'm
Just about done.
almost finished. Yeah.
Okay, because I've just glued my water elemental to a base.
Are you just hot gluing them to make them glue real fast?
Yeah.
Hot glue is like God's gift to miniatures.
Yeah, it's great for that. There are some of the larger minis that have these weird textured bases or sort of hollowness in them that will grab hold of what you paint them to and can be a bit cumbersome to remove.
We've lost someone's camera. Who did we lose?
Oh, was that mine?
I used poster tack a lot too for stuff.
Over to that.
Apologies.
I ran into
able to
issues
get
with the
back on,
poster
Joe?
tag.
Yes.
For masking?
Well, no,
Or are you talking about
just for sticking to whatever
Yeah, it doesn't
surface.
stick very well.
It's mostly being in Michigan. We have such wild temperature swings.
I'm in Milwaukee right now. I'm from Detroit and I'm in Milwaukee. I feel your pain.
Oh yeah, you know what's going on. You're on the other side of Lake Michigan. I'm close enough to it. We're getting all that lake effect.
All right, I'm ready to move on. Which one are we gonna do next?
Moving on to the water elemental. I just went ahead and glued the other ones to the bases. I don't think I have any.
The water and the wind look really similar in patterns for like how they did them.
Yep.
Yeah, they basically went horizontal stripes for the air elemental and vertical for the water elemental. So first step for the water elemental, if you got, I'm going to be using from Vallejo their game wash. It's actually, I got it covered up here. You can sort of see what it is. It's, what was that? 73.207.
How are we doing, Joe?
My phone was plugged in, but the charger wasn't plugged in. So,
Right, yeah. Riddles? I said the same thing about the Bob.
Was it not?
That's hilarious.
So if you got a blue ink, that'll work too. Honestly, I've not worked with the inks very much, so I'm not sure what's going to happen here. It'll probably be okay.
Surface, they sit on the edges a lot more than they do in the recesses, and unless you add some water to them, and they almost act like a glaze when you have waters to them.
That won't be bad because
to them.
What we're going to end up doing with the water elemental is putting one or two dry brush coats on it.
So,
nice.
So
Cool.
go recap on the water elemental there. So we're going to use a blue.
So you're going to use a blue ink or wash. Okay. I'm using the Vallejo Game Wash, blue wash.
Yes, I have that as well.
And I've just put a little bit of that in here. I just cleaned my brush off. I'm using the same brush. And same thing, I'm just going to start slapping this stuff on here.
Do you add extra water to that or just as it is?
I like to use mine as it is because it's pretty thin.
Yeah. And then just a big brush and cover it, yeah?
Yep. I'm going to use a little bit of a fatter brush.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So you apply a lot of terrain style painting. Like, obviously, you have all the what was it called? The Applebee's version of paint. What was it called?
The apple barrel.
Apple barrel.
Part of that reason is
like the big craft paint stuff, right?
I'm an ambassador for Plaid, who makes all of this stuff. So they send me. Their shipping got screwed up during COVID. Blame it on COVID, but they've sent me hundreds of paints. So naturally, I use all that stuff. But I was using it beforehand anyway. Because if you're slapping on a big piece of terrain, tons of paint, you do not want to spend use your
W prices.
Vallejo or GW or Army Painter paints.
Right. I agree.
But yeah, I use almost exclusively. I had a project where Vallejo helped out with the paints, which is how I have a lot of these, and then I inherited some from somebody I reviewed a product for. They sent a few with their product. Sure. Yeah, I do almost exclusively with these Apple Barrel Craft paints. I'm sorry, I talked over you, so I think there was a question in there somewhere.
Yeah, so I know you do a lot of terrain work, and I did a lot of terrain. I should probably state I paint a lot. I used to compete, and I love learning new techniques. I was super pumped to come on this show. And hearing that you do terrain stuff, does a lot of your miniature painting techniques come from doing terrain? Because terrain's a totally different monster. Like the detail you paint at, what you're trying to do, making it look good on a table, highlighting spots that you only see, like things near the surface you don't see. It's very different. How much of that applies to your miniature painting?
Here's the treant that I did recently this year that applies a lot of that.
Oh, cool.
That is nice.
Oh, you even flocked it, it looks like.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't come with that. So naturally, I used a lot of my terrain stuff there. I think it's a mixture. It's a great question. It's a mixture of blending the style of putting a lot of paint down quickly to move on to the next phase. And then so I figure out what my base elements are quickly. And then I move on to detail stuff, which I used to hate. I used to hate all the detail work, but I've grown to love it.
It's the part where you have to be decisive.
Yeah, you do.
And it's really difficult to be decisive when you don't, if you haven't painted that many, if you're painting an army of Space Marines, when you get to 20, you're like, I get the details. It's not a detail.
My apologies.
No worries. Good.
But I agree with that a lot. I think that makes it a lot easier to do with the basing and the main colors and color blocking is what I've always called it. Makes it easier.
I was just going to say that looks amazing. I'm really impressed with my mini there. That looks amazing.
It's like you're brushing it with this magic water, and all of a sudden it just reveals the true color underneath.
That's it. That's my best
really
mini.
Weird.
I'm done. I can retire.
If you haven't already done it, what I just did was go back in and look at those areas where it was pooling real heavy.
Yep.
And with nothing on the brush, I'm just going in and spreading that pool around. But that's the great thing about these translucent minis with the washes and the inks is you're basically just staining it this color. And when this dries a little bit, in a little while, we'll hit up with a couple of layers of dry brushing. Now you could spend time and go in and like pick out with a fine brush and pick out exactly where you want to highlight. But that's one of the things I wanted to point out. I'm actually learning more on detail highlighting and shading.
Yeah.
But with elementals, perfect place to use the dry brush and wash cheats.
Yeah.
Or shortcuts.
There's a lot of I'm not going to use the term that everyone else uses. I'm going to be very FRANKHOUSE about this. There's a lot of pricks in the painting industry that believe that there's only one way to do something, and that is not true. As someone who went to art school and someone who has been painting and doing artwork their entire life, and we have 3 graphic designers here, at least might be more, but we all know that the way you just even save out a file in Photoshop is like today. I learned a totally new way. Did you know that you can do your layer name is like waves? And then if you put .jpeg or .png, it saves out when you do your assets as a .jpeg or .png for that layer.
The first one I knew, but not the second one.
Me either. So when you do like a generate assets folder, it just saves them all out. And as long as your layer is named what you want, it does it. So there's always a new way to do it. And I found painting miniatures is the same thing. Someone's be like, oh, you can't do that. Dry brushing is only for doing terrain. And then you slap that person and you go dry brush a miniature and show them what it looks like. Because dry brushing is awesome and everyone thinks it's wrong. It's just such a great way to do
This is a different WizKids water elemental. This is the D&D version.
Cool.
Well, this is done with the same techniques we're going to do today. There's 2 colors of dry brushing on here, and I actually do a bit of stippling with the Arctic White. And then this is the air elemental that we've also done here, so you can see where we're going to be going with this. These are a bit larger than the
traditional
other ones.
painting techniques. Then, like stippling is not something that the traditional miniature community, I think, knows what that is. That is a Bob Ross technique, sir.
And then this is, of course, the Earth their version of the Earth Elemental without the gemstones. And I've just picked up my Fire Elemental. This is the other one. I'm hoping to get a little more yellows than the one we do today than this one turned out, but.
Yeah, I was going to ask how we're going to do that because those colors right there are the 2 hardest colors to do. Some of the 2 of the hardest colors.
Look at me sinning on camera.
How? Licking your brush? I just did it.
No, that's not a sin. That's just a tasty habit.
Right? I'm with you. Some paints taste better.
It's not always a great tasty habit. No, I'm mixing this yellow up with my brush, and it's doing 2 things. It almost showed me that it did show me that I didn't clean my brush very well. Because we're going to yellow, I keep using the same brush. We're going to yellow from blue. Obviously, you don't want a green. Well, maybe you do want a green flame elemental.
I am going to do some of my stuff as ghost because my home campaign and my main stream is a soul punk Victorian horror setting, and I think I'm going to paint some of these as spirits.
Cool. Yeah, I did a Magic the Gathering mini from WizKids, the Council of Ghosts or something like that, where I did shades of this greenish color on them.
Yeah.
And then used a white dry brushing to just pick out the edges. And then I used a gloss glazed over top of them just to give them that shiny look.
This looks like oh man, I'm old.
These inks are amazing. Just for another.
Doesn't this look like the old ghost you would pull out of the slime from the Ghostbuster toys?
It does. So,
for all those in the audience,
I'm guessing that just looking at where everybody's at with their water elementals, they're done. You're just pushing ink or wash around on the plastic and not really doing anything. That's going to make any difference at this point. I'm going to be moving on to the fire elemental. When you're ready, all I did was take a yellow and thin it out. The great thing is, as anybody who's been painting miniatures for more than a minute knows, yellow sucks to put on minis.
Yes.
Putting yellow on plastic or pretty much anything sucks because it goes on so thin.
Are you using yellow paint or yellow ink?
I'm using yellow, straight up bright yellow apple barrel craft paint.
Okay.
And I just put a little bit of water in it because, like I said, this stuff goes on super thin anyway. And because
it's the hardest pigment,
as FRANKHOUSE was saying about these not being primed, we also didn't wash them, so there's probably still a bit of mold release on there.
Yeah.
So that's where you're going to get some of that.
I dunked mine in my water cup and then wiped them off.
I mean, we've got the yellow ink as well. Would that not be
try it.
That's what I'm going to do.
It'll be good to see because you're going to be doing something different than me then.
Yeah, this is the first time I've gone off script. I am going to try yellow ink.
The inks have more pigment in them, so that when they flow, when they fill the gaps, you get more color to them. So you should be able to do it and get a decent color to it, in theory. Gosh, I don't think I'm gonna be able to attach this one to here.
Gonna give something else a try as well.
Looking at
Joe's exploring.
I definitely could
Once that
see
gold
looking
star.
at a couple of your minis, the water elementals. I could see that the ink was going on a little differently than my wash. So that'll be cool to see what the final results look like.
I use the wash the same as you, and you get a much more see-through effect. I think it definitely colours the mini less, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm walking over to like my paint booth thing over here, so I'm gonna have to let this dry because I'm gonna have to glue this down.
I like again. So when we were kind of, ERIK is kind enough to be standing in for someone else today. But when I was explaining the show to ERIK, I kind of said, "Yeah, we've got a bunch of amateurs painting." He never mentioned how good he was, and like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go over to my paint desk."
You gotta play it cool. You gotta play it cool.
Yeah. I've never done it
I wish
in
I
about
could.
a year.
Like I said, I love learning new things. Like that is my jam. Every day I watch one Skillshare video, and instead of doing traditional journaling, I write down stuff from Skillshare to learn a new skill.
Yep, that's cool.
There was a moment when we were getting set up, and I was seeing some of the stuff and hearing some of the stuff that ERIK was talking about, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing here?"
Because you're doing stuff. You paint terrain more than I do.
But that's one of those things I've gotten better at. But we all face imposter syndrome.
No, that's fine.
Sure, it's no point. Yeah,
you're invited.
Yeah. I'm not even supposed to be here.
I'm not supposed to be here today.
I killed the guy who was supposed to be here, and this is where we are now. A friend of mine who was supposed to be here, Drew, who's on my show, he works in Hollywood, and the show he was supposed to be on, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, so I'm not doing it, but they unfortunately had to close because there was a COVID case in the special effects department, and they had to close for that. So they're on like a 7-day hiatus. So now he could have been here. I was like, you can't get the miniatures in time, dude. I had a hard time finding them. So he's sleeping. We played Valheim really late last night. So
here you can see I've slapped some yellow all over my fire elemental. Most of this yellow, depending on how you do the next steps, most of this yellow is going to end up getting obscured.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we want.
Fire, anyway. Do you do yellow, orange, red? Like, what is your order for doing?
I do
fire?
yellow, orange, red. But I've done it the other way in the past too.
If this wasn't translucent, I would do a brown coat because then you can actually coat yellow. I learned that doing a Space Marine set that's yellow. But I was like, I don't know. God, this is going to be hard.
One of the things, I didn't mention this on the other one, but I see it more pronounced on this fire elemental, is I'm just going in and, man, I wish I could adjust my weight balance better on this.
Can you just turn it off and self-adjust it? Is it a G-Hub?
No, I switched out my main camera and I lost my camera controls for the webcam.
Oh, no.
The camera that my face is on is my DSLR. And what I should have done is change those out.
Yellow. Yeah, I need
But anyway,
DSLR up.
You want to just make sure you're not getting too thick into the details of the face. That the paint tends to pool up in there and you just don't want it to lose some of that detail. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm giving a quick brush over.
ERIK's gone over to his camera desk. So everybody who's watching, whoever's live in the audience, thank you for joining us. Just paint along, chill out, let us know how you're doing. If you have a question for Jake, for ERIK, for me, Steve, or Joe, please ask it in live chat. Do a capital Q, and then our friendly neighborhood moderators will try and let us know, and we can answer questions. And if Jake sees a question, then he can answer it as well. So
I'm trying to watch. It's a chore to for my old eyes to shift focus, but I am keeping an eye up there.
There was a question from earlier when you was talking about the fact you're using Appleby paints, for example, and you need to water them down. So it was Weed Knight 25 early on was asking the reason for watering paints down. What was the science behind that?
The main reason for watering them down is they flow better on your mini. Okay. It's better to have to do multiple coats then lose all your detail in a thick paint. And was that Eric? Did you just say that more work time?
Yeah, you get your paints when they're wet. You get a longer work time for them.
Yes.
You get the wet blend, which is an advanced technique, but honestly, it's not as hard as it sounds. There's something else about water I was going to say. Pigments. It has to do with pigments too. Like, I don't know about you, but paint and terrain. How many times were you in a rush and just did straight out of the bottle trying to get it done, and then all your brush strokes are there, and there's nothing you can do about it afterwards?
Yeah, that's the other thing. You don't want brush strokes. I do other things to mitigate on flat surfaces, to mitigate brush stroking.
Little rollers,
sponges. Weirdly, the rough bristles do a lot for that too. The bigger, like 1-inch brushes, like you'd paint your trim with on a house or interior painting, do really well for large spots of terrain because you can stipple with that and kind of roll with the texture.
Well, and you're trying to create texture on miniatures, on terrain, a lot more than you are on minis.
Yeah, exactly.
You should. Band of Badgers should do a terrain episode of this.
We are. Stop spoilers.
We talked about that yesterday.
I don't know about that. I'm just spitballing here.
You're the one that made it a spoiler.
Yeah, you could have said nothing.
There's no spoilers.
Been like, haha, we own them. We're already doing it.
I don't think it was even yesterday. I think it was at lunchtime on chat.
3D chess.
Where's everybody at?
I am almost done with my fire elemental. Is this bottom of the fire elemental fire or is that terrain?
It looks like a mix.
It's fire.
It looks like a mix. I'm going all fire. It looks like it's like curling down and up. I'm gonna go all fire with it, and then all of these ones, because they're medium sized, they came with these roughly 1-inch bases, which doesn't leave you a lot of room.
Yeah.
To do if you wanted to do texturing with it. The 1-inch base is important if you're doing a tabletop, specifically for tabletop gaming, in that it represents the threat area of that mini. But otherwise, especially if you're displaying, do what you want.
It really depends too on how rule monkey your group is too. If it's just a depiction of what the creature is, it may not matter as much.
Yeah, I've actually started using. Of course, we do a lot of online stuff, but I've started using close or near, far, and distant, and not worrying about the minutia.
Have you played Cypher System at all?
I haven't.
So I'm gonna.
Yes, I have. It's been a while, but I have played.
Yeah,
it. I played.
Their movement system was like eye opening to me. Just like painting and learning different methods, playing different games is the same thing, but they do an immediate, which is like touching range, and then they do. My hands are gonna get yellow all over them. Then they do a short. Long, and then anything after long is a determined distance, like 500 miles to the moon. And your immediate touch, short is within the room, and long is 2 rooms. And then you can justify and say, hey, this room is 2 long instead of 1. I cannot believe how much that has changed the way I played games. Unless it's a crunchy combat, I still use that, even like Pathfinder 2. That looks really good. Yeah, those blue inks you're using are awesome. They cover really well.
So already the blue on this is getting close to dry. I don't know about yours, the rest of you, because I don't know how thick you put yours on. Obviously the yellow's taking a little bit. My gray is mostly done. I went in and just touched up a couple spots on it. What are we looking at for time? About another hour or so?
Yeah, we've got another hour. I was just looking at what Joe was doing. Look, he's got a red base there. Is that
he's trying to win? Going wild on it.
Yeah.
So I've got the inks. I've got a yellow ink at the top, and then I mixed the yellow and red for the middle section, and then just the red at the bottom. So sort of
doing
yellow,
some
orange.
wet blending of inks.
Ooh.
I'm looking at this Earth Elemental, and I'm deciding if we have time to get into that.
It's the most time consuming of all of these.
Right,
So
when we got sent them, I looked. That was the first model. I was like, I want to paint this model so badly.
Here's what I'll do. I will, if we have time, we'll jump into it after we've sort of hit up these other 3. But I'll just talk through real quick while you guys are finishing up on what, because we're going to move into the air elemental and do some dry brushing here pretty quick. This is how I personally would approach this. Now, keep in mind, depending on your earth elemental, there's when it comes to earth, you either go with grays or you go with, let me flip this up out of my face. You either go with grays or you go with browns. I prefer the browns because on a table, especially if you have a dungeon or something like that, it stands out a little bit more. Mm-hmm. The colors I selected that I would use for this is I would actually lay down a base of burnt umber. And then I have my all-time favorite color from Apple Barrel Paints, Territorial Beige. My friend and MTD partner, Dwight, the big bearded nerd, I think he's in chat here somewhere. From the get-go, we say that Territorial Beige sounds like a great band from the 90s. And then, where did it go? And then for the highlights, I use a sandstone or a khaki or any of the light kind of brown. So what you end up with is this sort of range of these three browns. But it gets a little more complicated than that. So you start with your dark, go to your medium, highlight with your light, but then you're going to hit it with a mix, and you kind of play it by ear of an umber wash using the game wash color, which is going to get back down into those recesses. It's also going to knock that medium and light brown down a couple shades. Mm-hmm. And then you can also hit it with a sepia wash. I love, this is actually, whoops, I think I had those. Well, I grabbed two umbers. I didn't grab my sepia. Anyway, the sepia is actually a shader. So it sits on there a little thicker and it alters the tones. And then I come back with the medium and the light and do a little more dry brushing. So believe it or not, I use almost the exact same technique on the earth elemental as I do, so the ground, as I do on the wood. So side by side, you still get the sense that they're two completely different things. But there's no doubt this is wood. It's a tree.
Yep.
And then when you look at this one, it's an earth elemental. It's a bunch of ground pulled together.
Yep.
But they're using the exact same paint plan to achieve those results.
Do you keep a palette journal or anything like that when you're painting terrain over long-term periods? Like, or
that is so optimistic.
I'm just going to remix this color. Fuck it.
I don't because there's so I make high-end custom commissions for dice towers.
Sure.
I did one themed after the Tomb of Annihilation that I didn't grab any white. Teamed after the Tomb of Annihilation that we sold for charity at auction for $1,200 2 years ago.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
The dice rolled down through this pyramid. They came out of a classic green devil face.
Mm-hmm.
And when they hit the rolling tray, I had actually built a 2 by 2 inch by 2 inch trap door that if the dice landed on it, they would spill out into a secondary dice area and the trap door would close. It took a while to figure out the counter lever mechanism for that.
What did you build all that out of?
Almost exclusively cardboard core and pink foam insulation.
By the time you painted and everything, it was basically rock solid, I assume.
Oh yeah, you with all the different stuff because I do basing in Mod Podge.
You doing the black magic craft stuff?
What's that?
You're using the black magic craft style.
100%. Yeah, Jeremy over at Black Magic Craft
stuff.
is sort of, people know it as that. I have a bottle of Mod Podge. You mix some black paint in with it, and you create your primer / sealer. But the reason I was bringing that up is people have often asked me, why don't you do tutorials of your dice towers? I'm like, because I make it up as I go. I'm solving problems as I'm building it and painting it. and I often don't know how it's going to turn out, so it's hard to do a tutorial of it.
So did you say you was dry brushing the elementals, right?
Yeah, I'm moving on to the air elemental because he seems to be dry. I'm going to use this. I bought these for a project last year with the kids. They're these super cheap brushes. This one you can see is pretty tore up. It's a big fat round brush. I love this thing for sort of soft highlighting and dry brushing. And then I have some of these, like these coarser bristled brushes that also work well for this type of dry brushing. I think I'm actually going to go with this coarser one now that I think about it. I'm going to throw down some cold white is what I'm using from Vallejo's model color. It's 70.919. I just love this color. It's a harsher white. Normally I wouldn't use this for dry brushing in this nature. I tend to just use a straight up white, but this was closer. I have these big bottles. I have 2 big 8-ounce bottles of white paint from Plaid. And then I'm going to do this here because it's easier for people to see. If you don't know how to do this particular dry brushing, so much stuff is blowing out this white balance. We're trying to move some of this. What I do, once I put it on the plate here and a white on white, I kind of stipple off to the side to thin it out a bit. And then on a paper towel, I just start doing this. I'm literally just making X's to get as much of that paint.
Big bearded nerd is in the house.
There he is.
From the Big Bearded Nerd Club.
Big bearded nerd. Don't tell him I said this. He's a better painter than I am.
Yeah.
Now he knows it. He knows it. He is an excellent painter. He does commissions. He is a partner with me over at Mini Terrain Domain, actually. We run our own independent channels, but myself, Big Bearded Nerd, and D&D Jordan Lee, we all are working together on Mini Terrain Domain stuff, producing, community management, all that stuff, charities.
Yeah.
So because this air elemental has these mostly horizontal lines, I'm just bringing the flat part of my brush down, crossing over those. So that's going to help from the top down, just kind of pick out these lines. I'm just hitting all over the thing. I don't even care. Trying to stop
That's
me.
my next phase. I did a black ink wash in it to darken up the lines, and now I'm pulling it off the.
You're getting ahead of me. I was actually going to do that. So I like to do the highlighting, then wash it and highlight it again. Maybe.
Just to go over the dry brushing again, you're using a white and then just literally dry brushing
Hitting the
that straight
edges.
on. Yeah.
Yep. So I've got this over here
Go
on the
against the
side.
grain, I guess is what, right?
Yeah, he's basically going against the grain.
So it would be up and down on the main body and then sort of left and right on the arms.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm using a Q-tip right now. I'm pulling off some of the excess paint.
And you just use the tissue just to kind of get as much off as you can.
Yeah, so I just had some Q-tips over in the bin, and I'm using that. I use it when I'm doing oil washes. So
Those were over at his Q-tip table.
Yeah.
Dude, so you know what it really is? It's a 3-bin tall tackle box with wheels that you would take like fly fishing. But since I go to the club to paint, I needed somewhere to transport all my stuff. So like my airbrush fits in the bottom and everything, and it's just sitting in the side of my room. I built mounting brackets on it so I can set my airbrush booth on top, and it locks in place.
Now he has an airbrush booth look.
You ever seen them? They're like the little craft airbrush booths that are like this with a fan in the back. I needed it because we were painting stuff that was kind of harmful, and I could throw the tube out the door for it. Don't Don't act like that's special. Act like that's special.
I love the fact that Eric is so pumped to get on the show.
Yes.
Eric, just admit you paint minis, man. We'll get you on. Like we're doing season 2. We'll get you on.
I do paint minis.
Eric's going to come on season 2 and he's going to go, everything Jake told you in season 1, this is how to fix all of that.
See this gray beard? Just obey this gray beard. Not that one, this one. No.
No, see, that's the really cool thing is you were kind of alluding to this earlier, Eric, but there is no wrong way to paint the minis, because at the end of the day, if you're having fun with it, I say, especially if you've got kids and you're looking for fun things to do with the kids, no matter what age they are, slap a couple paints and a palette and a brush in front of them, give them a mini and see what they do with it. You could find out you have a budding artist on your hands, or they just want to slap paint on everything but the mini. Either way, you're going to learn something.
Rooms in your house that they're not the person to do it.
Also, if you're playing a horde army, it's a pretty good way to get most of your horde army painted.
Truth.
So
what are you doing the air elemental right now, Jake?
Yeah, I've been doing dry brushing on it. I'm just finishing that up, so I'm gonna kind of show this.
I'm afraid mine might be too wet. We're gonna find out.
And you could at this point call the main part of this done, and then just do a couple shades of brown on the bottom to give it that sort of earthy look.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing
I kind of want to try to paint lightning bolts down the side of it.
Of the air elemental?
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I think with a really high pigment, I probably could do it once we get this dry brush on.
So what I'm going to do, and I think you said you already did this, Eric, is I'm actually going to go with a black wash now. Now that I've dry brushed this, I'm going to hit the whole thing real quick with a black wash.
And mix black and purple together.
That's going to sit down and into those low lines. And because it's not going to go on, or I'm going to try not to get it to go on very evenly, it'll contrast nicely with the white and the gray that's already on there.
Oh shit!
I want to see how you tackle this one. This is.
I just messed up. See, not a pro.
So I'm grabbing my black wash. I'm just starting right at the top. And just covering it just like we did with the gray initially. And what'll happen is as the gray, as the wash dries, it mutes up. Obviously when you first put it on, it's kind of shiny. But it mutes up, and then you see the highlighting kind of showing through it that you did with the dry brushing. And then we're going to go over it one more time with a dry brush to finish it off.
Okay, so that's a straightforward black wash.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I did mine beforehand because the paint I was using didn't seem to fill the crevices the way I wanted. So I went back through and put a black wash in just to kind of push it all down. But yeah, I agree with you. I usually highlight like with the dry brush or whatever I'm doing, depending on how detailed a piece it is, and then wash the puppy.
So there's a couple different levels. I don't know officially what they're called, but I know at its essence, you kind of have one of the areas I primarily paint at is table ready.
Yep.
Which is, it looks pretty good on the table, or should look really good on the table. But if you get right up close or do close up photography on it, you might see some of the sins, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's not something like some of these amazing painters that you see the extreme close up photographs and you're like, what?
Parade ready, I think they put it, isn't it?
Yeah, like when I would do stuff for like competitions, you paint at that level. But I'll be honest, like when you're painting a 40K army or painting stuff for your gaming table, they're not getting inspected at that level. And unless you are in love with that miniature, or you paid a lot and you got like one of those resin casts from Forge World, and you really want to do some love to it, I don't ever paint at like pro level because it's not fun to do it on numerous minis.
No, you wanna save those for the really good ones.
Yeah.
Or if
I
somebody
definitely
wants
think everyone
to
should try it once, but
yeah, sometimes you might want a showpiece or whatever, but I always paint mine primarily for table ready, and I even photograph them so that they're not super close up. For that reason.
I 100% agree with that. And you say you wash it again with the black afterwards? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm just kind of going in. I'm dabbing my brush now on a piece of paper towel and just going in and dragging through these thick spots.
So how do you handle your dry brush in between uses? Do you leave the paint on it if you're going to dry brush more later? Because you can't
on
wet
the brush,
because then you're screwed.
Oh, yeah, no, if you get it wet, you're going to end up just smearing a color across there. Yeah, I just leave it there. These are pretty cheap and durable brushes. So worst case, I ruin a brush. And I have terrible brush discipline. I freely admit it. I am awful. Like getting ready for today, I just looked over at my brush cleaner cup.
Yeah.
And there were 6 brushes just sitting in there from when I painted last. I'm using one of them.
Oh, that's hilarious. I mean, terrain, you can murder brushes. Sometimes it actually makes them better.
I do have certain brushes that I'm very careful with, the ones that I do detail work on, especially like eyes and stuff. And I have a pack of detail brushes that Plaid Crafts gave me that aren't even opened yet because I'm waiting until the other ones are utterly destroyed before I break into those. But even so, they're pretty cheap, couple bucks for a pack of 10.
I always have some brushes that are really made for like whooping on, and I paint the top of them in bright red so I know I'm allowed to damage them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I just and I'm talking like I just dunk it in paint and then just set it off the side and let it dry. I don't even care if it's even. I don't give a shit what it looks like. But I do it because I have numerously like ruined like a Winsor Newton grabbing like something like this, like a really big fat brush, and I pick it up and just destroy it. And I'm like, oh, dang.
So someone in chat's put Weed Night has put not gonna lie, watching this I think I should have got my custom mini color printed. I don't think painting is gonna be my forte. So
I mean, honestly, any miniature, I don't know about you, Jake, but I think anyone can paint a miniature to tabletop ready if they just follow a tutorial.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this is my 4th time ever painting. I mean, I did, if you follow us on Instagram, I actually did a stone giant on Sunday just because I got up the courage to try something on my own. So just, again, look, look how good this blue one looks.
I mean, that's what I put in the chat as well. It's like just keep practicing and you'll improve in no time. You'll notice improvements.
Honestly, these transparent ones are maybe one of the best like learning tools I think I've seen for painting.
Yeah. So I have this. I'm going to show this off here. This is a Reaper Mini, Narthrax. This dragon.
Nice, dude.
I had this dragon. I bought it in Tacoma in 2017. And I didn't paint it until 2019 because I was terrified to paint this thing. And then one day I just looked at it and I said, today's the day. And I went to work on it and I just applied the same techniques I've always known with terrain and other things. And eventually you get done and you have a fully painted dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, maybe it doesn't look as good as you have seen others do it, but I'll tell you what, you're never going to be happy if you're comparing your minis to other people's minis.
No.
I think if you're if your players, like, if you're putting it on a table for like D&D or what have you, your players are going to just appreciate that you've put time into painting.
Yes.
Yep.
The very first terrain I ever made was untextured flat styrofoam with a couple layers, couple pieces on it, and I glued a bunch of green stuff to some twigs. I took a T-Rex plastic toy and painted it to look like bones. And when we revealed that at our D&D game, actually at Big Bearded Nerd's house several years ago, they all left when the battle scene came up. They all left the garage where we were playing.
I swear you just said they all laughed.
He left.
That's what I thought. So.
He had his wife go stand by the garage door opener. I stood at the head of the table, and I set everything up, and then she opened the garage door to reveal it. It's the worst terrain I've ever made. I don't even have it anymore. The looks on their faces. There's still pictures. They're all taking pictures. They're in awe at this. And then we played, it was 4th edition. So for the next 3 hours, we had one combat on it.
Yep.
God, right?
I'm not even exaggerating. It was literally 3 hours of combat.
Passive perception, skill challenges, and I would probably say rituals and minions. That's my 4 favorite things come out of 4th edition. Other than that, it's I say the slipcase is a hat for my Pathfinder books.
So I've grabbed a lighter blue color. It's literally called light blue. I do have Sailing Sky here, which is sort of a medium, but being cognizant of the time and what else we're working on, I'm just going to go to one level. I'm going to use this to dry brush the water elemental before doing the white, which we'll just do kind of sparingly on this one. So again, I'm just going to take a dollop of, that's the official term. That was more than I wanted. That's the great thing about these craft paints, though. These apple barrel paints. If you go into Walmart or similar stores, you can pick this up for 50 cents for 2 ounces. I don't care if I leave it on a plate or put a little too much out there, because that stuff will last forever. If it's GW paint, Vallejo, you don't want this much. This is like half a bottle I just put on my plate.
But you don't
here.
care.
Yeah, I don't care because it's
Agree wholeheartedly. And you're more willing to experiment with those kind of paints too than you are your expensive ones.
And to be fair, though, what I might do, though, is if I have a lot of this left over, I'll uncap the bottle. I'll scoop as much as I can up on the brush and just sort of scrape it back in there. Because, come on, I'm not going to waste it all.
For those of you using a wet palette right now, if you're going to go back and do more stuff to this, if you seal it and put it in the fridge, you can revitalize your paints really well.
So it's the same dry brushing, but with blue, not white.
Yep. I'm just using this sort of medium light blue. It goes really well with what we've done with the mini here. And what I love about these water elementals in particular, this is a harsher contrast than the white on the gray. And you start to get that appearance of, the peaks of waves when water is sort of in turmoil. You're going to have that. The edges are going to be white or lighter colored. And I don't know if you saw, while somebody was talking, I muted up, and I did hit this with my air gun a little bit, my heat gun. But you might have some pools in there. Those are not going to be friendly to dry brushing.
No.
Something to know long term. You want a thoroughly dry mini if you're going to be doing some dry brushing.
It will wreck everything you've done.
Yeah, I have a roper that I was working on, and I got impatient. I put a wash on it, and I don't know why. I was painting multiple things. I think that's why. And I reached over and grabbed that and started dry brushing, and the whole thing just turned to a muddy gray.
It's literally what I did just earlier on my air elemental. I went to dry brush, and I forgot to actually wipe my dry brush off. So I butchered that.
But I fixed it. I redeemed myself.
I don't know if you can see that I'll bring it up on when we go to the big camera, but yeah, that's changed it quite dramatically actually.
So you can see here, yeah, it knocks some of that blue down, but you still get all of the highlights, and you can see the detail in it.
Yeah.
You can see that there's actually there's some semblance of a face in here.
Yeah.
You can see what's going on with the water itself.
So Jake, what made you start painting?
Painting minis or terrain or anything?
Yeah, like turning it into like a career. I mean, what made you do that?
I don't know if I turned it into a career yet, but no,
working on it.
So here's what I started doing terrain because when I got back in the D&D after a long hiatus, I just wanted more for my players. I wanted to do more. And I had seen about some of these, I won't name them, but we all know who they are. The people that make the modular gaming 3D terrain that's very expensive. And
yeah,
I thought there's got to be an easier way. And I started looking stuff up on YouTube, and I stumbled across DM Scotty.
Oh yeah, man.
Who's known as the craft father, the godfather of crafting.
Legend.
And the first thing I ever made that I ever crafted was from one of his videos, was this giant purple, I can't even fit it on the camera, I'll show it on my head cam.
That's the first thing I made too.
This giant purple worm.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, never used it in the game, but I like to show up at tables and just set this next to the DM screen and watch the color drain from your face.
That's hilarious, actually.
But yeah, so I started doing more of that, and then what happened was, as with a lot of these kind of creative endeavors, I just started making things my own and saying, well, I would do it differently. I would do this way. In fact, in his tutorial, Scotty admittedly put the armor on backwards on the worm, so that if an actual worm were to go through the earth that way, it would just get stuck because the armor plates were facing the wrong way. I caught that, I fixed it, and then I just kept doing it more and more. And what happened was, people started seeing what I was doing and said, "Hey, can you make me a thing?" The question that kind of made that transition for me was, how much for you to do that for me?
Ooh.
Yeah, when you have to put a price on something as an artist, that's when you go, wait a minute.
Well, it is, and it took me a while to even accept the title of artist. And I started making a dice tower in the style of an old medieval looking building, based on a friend's character in D&D. And I wound up just gifting it to him. He got a hold of me and said, I cannot accept this without paying you. And he forced me to put a price on it. And I owe all of my commission work to him forcing me to put a price on a piece of my art, because that's what gave me the courage to say I am an artist and acknowledge that, and then be able to start to value my own work. And then it's just kind of gone from there. I do commissions very sparingly because they take a long time.
Yeah, for custom building, I can only imagine.
Like most of my dice towers that I do take between 40 and 80 hours.
Wow.
Mind if I ask what you charge on average for those?
It's dependent on the style.
Okay.
But the smallest one was 175. On average, they're 250. The big one I did that sold at auction, if that sold at auction for 1,200. If I had put a price on that as a commission piece, it would have been probably close to $5.
That's awesome, man, that you're actually pricing yourself in a good price bracket.
Same thing with freelance graphic design, and I do freelance production work for online conventions and things like that. You've got to recognize what your own worth is. Yep. And people do it in different ways, and I've just figured out what works for me. And that's what I do.
Man, I don't know if this is going to come off well, but I've done the bottom parts and the hands in a rich purple.
I see that. I like
and
that.
I ran the strands up into the back.
Is there... So you're going for kind of a spectral type look?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I briefly considered, I think it was 88 Riddles that said this in the chat. I briefly considered doing the flame elemental in like a green flame.
I was going to.
You could do it still using the yellow. And I think that would make a great base, but then you just go up from lighter to darker shades of green. And you can hit some highlighting in there.
I have a undead creature. So in my world, there are tons of spirits and different types of ghosts and stuff because there's no purgatory right now. So they roam the world, and one of them is a drowned, and they are a spirit that is in a constant state of sadness, and they actually fill entire rooms with water. And I was like, "Oh, this is a perfect model for that."
So I just ran into a unique situation I wasn't expecting. The orange that I picked up to use is actually an apricot. And it's not dark enough to contrast well with this yellow on the fire elemental. So I'm just on the fly. I'm trying some stuff off on the side here. I just put a jack-o'-lantern color in there. Mixed it right in with the apricot, and now I'm adding bright red. I'm going to drop just a drop of that in there.
The best technique I think any painter can learn is the color wheel. Just so you know how to mix your own colors together, and don't be afraid to play with them. They will, I will say, have a junk miniature that's primed in white off to the side if you're worried about how it's going to apply. But because paints play differently together.
Yes, especially if you're using cross brand. Mm-hmm. I've done mixed Vallejo and plaid multiple times, so I already know how this is working. But yeah, that's a great piece of advice. I actually know a lot of professional painters that have printouts of the color wheel.
There's one on my wall
visually reference.
Yeah, 100%. I learned that watching. Oh gosh, what painter was that? That might have been Les back in the day that he was talking about color wheel stuff. And I had one from art school. I'm like, I'll just stick it to the wall. You can get them really cheap on Amazon too. I think you can get like the rotating color wheels for like less than $10. But they teach you how to mix primaries together in tertiaries and stuff to make all your colors, and you can achieve some pretty amazing stuff. So the fire elemental, you just went into a white dry brush right afterwards?
Nope, I'm doing orange.
Oh, it's orange. Oh, okay, orange dry brush.
Yeah.
I need to do him. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I'm going for more the yellow being kind of underneath.
Mm-hmm. Fire's hard.
Yeah, because if you don't do it right, it looks wrong.
It's opposite. You almost are painting the opposite, I feel, of what you think is correct.
Right. The best thing I can tell you to do if you're unsure is just look at some fire.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, look at campfire. For an elemental, you almost want something where it's like a bonfire that's just had wood added to it, or a structure fire, something like that, because there's more rage, more anger in a fire elemental. Check in with everybody. How's everybody feeling where you're at right now?
On the water elemental.
Yeah.
I've dry brushed on the light blue, and then I've gone over with a white as well to try and pick up. What I'm visualizing is like the crashing waves, and you're picking up the breakers. So you got like the white foam on top.
Yep.
One thing I do notice is like the shadows aren't as pronounced as they are on the air elemental, where I've washed it in black. If I wanted to put some more shadow on it, because I started with the blue wash anyway, where do I go from there? Putting a black wash on it would seem sort of...
no, I wouldn't put a black wash on it. I would say you could either thin out and reapply You could either straight reapply your blue wash, which is going to knock down your other highlights.
Yeah.
Or you could take a thin brush and take that wash and deliberately put it into those low areas.
Yep.
Those are kind of a
If you have
couple
a Q-tip, you could wipe off the high points too. Or
Yeah.
a dry brush, you can even wipe off the high points.
Yeah, you could do that as well.
Like put it in there, and if you mess up, just wipe it with some water.
Yep.
So here's with just the orange kind of thrown in over top of the black background probably look better.
This may be the best orange paint I've ever used. Look at
Trying
that.
to find that focal point. There we go.
This isn't even an ink. This is just the orange paint from Chimera. Look how that covers.
That's nice.
That's insanity.
Let's see. I can see kind of Joe's. Let's see. I see Dave. I think that's yours up in the. Yep.
Yep. Top left.
And I see Joe's. A couple of different ones there. So already looking at what I see without making any spoilers to where I'm thinking who's looking the best. I already like yours all better than mine. So you're beating me. So there's that.
Riddles, I agree though. The dry brush on wet can actually be handy for certain effects. I used it on turtles for a swamp water effect. 100%. You can do wet paint with a dry brush. It almost becomes more of like a coarse wet blending. And you're right. It can make some amazing effects.
But that's one of those things that we were talking about. Don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah, exactly. What did I say about this? I said something similar to parties. Oh. You don't have to be monogamous in your style. You can cheat. It's okay. You can do anything you want. No one's going to tattle on you. It's all right. Everyone's in on the party. But you should definitely try stuff. I love that red that you have on that fire elemental right now. I feel like I'm trying not to copy you, damn it.
Who are you talking to? Joe or?
No, whoever's doing, who's doing the red face and stuff. I'm trying not to copy you right now.
I'm trying to do red eyes. They've got like an eye socket. I'm just trying to get some colour in there, but it's really difficult.
Put the red in the eye sockets, like just drop it in the droplets, and then just wipe off around it with a dry brush. Like not dry brushing, but an actual not yet wet brush.
Yeah.
And you should be able to get the eye sockets. So do you have a favorite miniature line that you enjoy painting so far? Are you all over the board, Jake? Or
I paint mostly WizKids because, honestly, because I'm a reviewer for them, so I get a lot of product from them. I'm also happen to be friends with their person who handles all of V, who we thanked at the top of the stream.
Yep.
V is actually a player in one of my primary campaigns on my Twitch channel.
Oh, cool.
If you
So there's a little story in the back of this. It's weird how people are connected because when I started doing just recording our game, because Banner Badges is a club. We've got 80 members now. We used to play in a big mansion house in the countryside, but COVID hit, pandemic, and I found you go onto YouTube, you type in OBS, and Jake popped up. And I was going through Jake's tutorials about how to use OBS and overlays. And it was great. Fast forward to today, a few years later, I've since been talking to V, who I didn't know was at WizKids because I wanted V to come on a painting show and she was gracious enough to be the first guest. Who then turned out to be a regular player on Jake's gaming shows, which I didn't put them together. Even though I've been watching them since... Saltmarsh. So that's a while back. And then V said, "Oh yeah, get Jake Noorman. He'll come on the show." Had a chat with him. And as soon as he came on camera, because we was having a chat, just to kind of get to know each other, I was like, "I know you."
Whatever I did, I didn't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works sometimes, though, that you, just the way this community is, there's so many people that you can know or know of.
Yeah.
And then there's people out there that you just, for whatever reason, because it's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Eventually, you're gonna end up finding mutuals and crossing paths with somebody. So I'm looking at going back and throwing some white on this air elemental, but I've gone and dry brushed with orange. I am not going to go back to white with that particular brush. That would be disastrous.
And just a note to...
No mistakes is happy accidents.
A note to Steve and Joe. You have just over 5 minutes.
Oh, it's getting to be that time, huh?
Oh, really? We only have 5 minutes left?
Yep.
Here I am, like, see, and this is one of those things where I should be doing painting for tabletop and not doing any detail painting, and I already found myself into doing detail painting.
I just told myself right off the bat I'm not going to do detail painting. I'm going to use fat brushes and throw paint on and
smart,
get
man.
the tabletop ready.
That's a plan.
I was telling Dwight, Big Bearded Nerd, there once I got the minis, which side story, these minis, this was the second batch that V had to send me. I got a delivery note. I track all of my packages, of course, through all the major carriers. If anybody sends me something through a major carrier, I get alerted that I have a package on the way. Mm-hmm. That way I can keep an eye out for it.
Porch pirates and all.
I knew this was coming. Yeah, my porch over that way sits less than 20 feet from the main sidewalk and road. So, yeah, I want to know when stuff's coming. I got a delivery notification. I looked outside, no package. No idea where they delivered that box of minis, but no kind neighbor has come and returned them either.
So if you're Jake's neighbor and you're watching this and you're painting along with us,
I would like to know, and I will say, if you have those minis that were meant for me, and you know that because it has my name on it, and you're painting them while watching this stream, I will 100% have no hard feelings. Just show me your miniatures.
Show me your work.
Yeah, show me your work. Show me that you've earned it. Earned this.
So what do you think about some blue? Blue and flame is at the top. No, it's at the bottom, right?
It's the
cold heart.
It's the coldest flame.
So it's the tips.
Yeah, you might get some at the tips. You don't generally get it from like wood fires and things like that. It tends to be more like in gases and things like that.
Yeah, I just try to fingertip. I'm not happy.
Full disclosure, that is 100% not fact checked. I just said that based on, I just realized as I was saying it, I think my dad told me that once, and I just assumed that's true.
Hold on here, everybody. Who needs fire reference?
What are you setting on fire?
Yeah, that's blue.
Yeah, and that's gas.
I just tried to do the. I was going to try and do the eyes like in blue for that contrast.
I was going to, and I didn't like it.
I cocked it up, so don't go there.
I just did the same thing.
Horrible.
I did it on a fingertip first. I was like, nope, fucking, this is a mistake.
So, yeah, the last thing I'm going to do, I think,
I'm not even touching the earth elemental, by the way.
With the I haven't either. I'll tell you what I will do. I will paint this earth elemental at a later time, and I will pay attention as best I can to what colors I used. When I do paint it, I will post it on Twitter, and I will tag the fine folks here at Band of Badgers and make sure that anybody can. Most of the time I paint, it's like I just grab something, and I don't have the time to set everything up for that.
Do you paint in your
said the professional streamer?
Yeah.
What was that?
I was just gonna
say,
gonna give you shit on that.
Do you paint evenings during the week, or do you save it all for the weekends?
Whenever I feel like it, honestly. Sometimes it's while I'm waiting for something. Sometimes I need sort of a paint therapy after a busy day at work, so I'll do it on my lunch break. So I'm hitting up, as a final note here, I'm hitting my own water elemental with some of this cold white dry brush.
For those that wanted to know, what is your Twitter as well? So you mentioned you put it up on your Twitter.
My Twitter is at MTD_Jake. And you can find my Twitch at twitch.tv/mini terrain domain. We run D&D, mostly D&D on my channel. Our schedule right now, we actually are off tonight. Somebody's not feeling well. But we usually run a Dungeon of the Mad Mage that I'm a player in. I play 6 Days Until Summer, the Tabaxi Bard. In that show, every other Tuesday night, we're getting ready to wrap up. V also is a player in this. Hope and Redemption from Harper's Tale, along with some other lovely people. I play on a couple other channels. I play on Dice on Ice RPG and a Curse of Strahd campaign that we've had going for 2 years. Our Dawnbringers campaign is approaching 2.5 years. We're in season 5, Rime of the Frostmaiden. It's a mishmash of modules that I'm running. And this Wednesday, actually, we're debuting a new show that it's every once in a while I have a streamer that is usually a friend, somebody that I know is a capable producer and showrunner, and I give them a time slot. And my friend Jeremy, who is a player from Erasmus Expeditions, is a player in our Dawnbringers campaign. He is running in his homebrew world a version of D&D 5e called Convergence, starting this Wednesday and running every other Wednesday. All times Eastern, approximately 8:30. So you guys are already in bed.
Yeah. It's
so you teach OBS as well, right? You said that's where you found them, Dave?
So what I did was figure it out the hard way, learned how to do everything for tabletop RPGs because nobody was doing tutorials. There's still not a lot of tutorials out there.
No, there's not.
So I just said, hey, people kept coming to me wanting to know how I did stuff. So I just put together a tutorial.
So here's a question for you then.
Okay.
All right. For that, you do tutorials. When you are running a Twitch, do you have one Twitch account for all your stuff? Or do you have two? And I asked that because of this. In OBS Live, which is what I'm using, I have to switch back and forth between myself and the Norse Foundry one. And I find that it boots me from it all the time. And having to re-enter a token key every time I want to switch is very annoying.
Here's your answer to that. Profiles.
I have a profile, and it does not save the Twitch information for each profile.
That is bizarre.
I have to log out and log back in.
Are you connecting?
Yes.
Or using a login?
They are connected.
Okay. I'd have to look into that more, take it offline, as we just suddenly shifted to IT hour on. No.
We'll just call in with your IT issue. Right, it is the last 15 minutes, guys. Paintbrushes down, take a breather, have a drink, grab a snack. Hey, Drew. Drew is in. Drew is in the live stream. He's just joined us, I think.
Hey, buddy, you're a little late.
I'd second what AA Riddles has said as well, that paint therapy is a great mental health choice.
It sure is.
What with lockdown and everything's been going on, like painting has been a really good mental break and stress reliever. So.
What I would like to do, or what I like to do, and what I have made a primary focus of Mini Terrain Domain, is one of our tenets or our mission statement, if you will, is to destigmatize mental health and discussions of mental health. If you've watched any of my live streams or VODs, you know that before we play the game, I give a mental health, it's okay to not be okay. Please seek help. And we talk about it, quite frankly. I'm very honest with my own struggles with anxiety and depression. A little over a year ago, I found a therapist for the first time ever and have never regretted it. I had some programmed masculinity and stuff like that was preventing me from seeking that. That eventually, through the wonderful communities I'm in, realized there's no reason. And what we tell people is it's okay to not be okay, especially for the last year or so. And your mental health is more important than anything, including our games and everything we do. And finding those things that work for you as a sort of therapy, whether it's painting, it could be playing video games. If you even have to schedule it, if you're a rigid schedule person, schedule yourself 30, 60 minutes for something just for you.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
100% agree with
Right,
that.
everybody, we are going to do some judging. We are going to go give us a minute to set things up. We're going to go full screen as big as we can on this one. I'm going to pin. Let's do Joe first because where's Joe's cam? Joe's mini cam is there. We're going to pin the cam so we can make it big. We've got everyone on the screen. Right, Joe, give us a quick rundown, and then you're going to go run through them all, and then pick your personal favourite.
So, this one was probably my personal favourite. I basically did a bit of blending between the yellows and the reds with some orange by creating an orange ink, and with some dry brushes. Quite like the face and the hair on the top. I think it's pretty cool. Don't know if you can catch much of that. Yeah, I like that one. Thought it was good.
I like the kind of the red face mask.
Yeah.
It's more sinister.
And then...
Oh, wow, that turned out brilliant.
At first, I thought this was going horrible, and then I actually quite liked how it's turned out. It looks pretty good, I think.
Yeah, that turned out really. The wind one turned out really well. Now you just need some sharks in it, and we're set.
Yeah.
Mix it up. Get some of those really tiny plastic babies.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And then, to be honest with you, I kind of focused on my fire elemental. So all I did was the blue wash on the blue one. I didn't get time to do a dry brush or anything on this one. So
right.
Yeah,
I was really impressed with the blue inks. Actually, that just brought it to life.
All of the inks I thought were amazing.
Seeing how the inks have gone on for what you guys have done, I'm like, why don't I have any inks? I need to get a contact over at Vallejo. Send me some inks.
Right, so
they were really good.
I've got to find your mini. Here we go. Boom.
Right, okay, I got to unpin this video.
Steve's mini cam is going up next.
Yeah, when I find it myself. Hang on. There we go. Right, I'll do my fire elemental first.
I don't know if I should look at the Twitch or our chat.
Let me replace the... Okay, there we go.
Take the postcard away. Oh, no. Oh, you were just there.
There you go. Okay, so I followed just Jake's method completely. So this is a yellow ink, and then I dry brushed with hot orange, and then again with scarlet red. So there's two colours, and I went heavy on the scarlet red at the base, and did very little other than on the face at the top. And I did try to do some blue eyes to pick out some of the detail, and ended up then filling it with the scarlet red to cover the blue, with a mistake I made. So it's probably my least favourite one. I do like the base, but the rest of it, the contrast and the orange that I chose probably wasn't what I was looking for. I should have gone with a a darker orange, I think.
Hold it there. Stop. Stop. Yeah, no, it's kind of going in and out. It was just there, and it looked. You could see all the red veins on it.
Yeah, so on the arms there is the red veins that picks out, and I did in the orange, but yeah, it's not quite picking up on the camera. But
All right.
This is just for the Twitch audience, not for you guys. Don't tell them, but they followed my instructions this whole thing. But all of their minis look better than what I painted. Okay, you guys can listen now.
So I went for a different. I followed Jake's method again with the water elemental. So I didn't do it in ink. I did it in wash, and then I dry brushed with a
try sticky hand
electric blue. I'll put my hand behind it. I put a dry brush with electric blue and then white, and I did Arctic white on that.
That looks nice.
There you go.
Looks
You see
really
the
good.
face on there. Look, yeah.
And that's
Man, I
what
feel like
that's
they
what.
use like a ice base or something.
So what I was trying to do is I finished. I was using a very fine detailed brush just to put some more wash back in the eye socket and the mouth, just to try and bring that out. So there's the back, and I tried to put the white more on where the wave break would be. So like there in the spiral at the bottom, and then on the top. It's not the focus, but okay. So that I like that one. The air one I have finished, but I haven't detailed it because what I want to do with this is I want to put some yellow in it to pick out some of objects or lighting, as ERIK was saying, to give the illusion of flashes of lightning within the air elemental itself, and then paint the bottom brown, and then try and pick out some of the brown being picked up from the base. But I didn't get to finish that, so that's just it's the grey wash highlighted, the black wash, and then highlighted again.
Well, the homework is for that, and before the next show, you have to do that. And then put photos, send photos in, and we'll.
Yeah.
This is for everybody here. Something that you can do if you want to make your air elementals look even angrier is gluing little bits of just take a cotton ball and stretch it out, puff it out, and cut away some of that, and just glue a little bit of that down around the base, and maybe even dry brush that, or leave it white, and you get that look of a cloud of dust where it's just touched down.
Steve,
that can add to.
Did you do an earth elemental? Because otherwise we just got your big canvas. Right, remove that.
No, I did not do an earth. Can I put my fire back? See if it focuses me on. Hang on.
I've got to move you around.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. Pin. There we go. There you go.
So yeah, just went heavy on the red on the base and the orange over everything else. A little bit red on the fingertips and the arms. Pick up the veins.
Yeah, it actually looks like the veins are on the inside.
Yep.
Okay.
So no, I didn't do the earth. I have a very, very specific vision for the earth elemental. I'm going to paint it like a Minecraft earth elemental. So I'm going to try and wet blend.
Oh my god, that's genius!
I like it. Notice, by the way, I'm being really quiet during your reveals because I don't want to tip my hand over where I'm leaning as you reveal them.
Well, there you can see is my two fire elemental attempts. So I tried to do the same thing I went just basically red and yellow, red on the base. There's no extra highlights or anything. This is just a yellow ink and a red ink. And I've gone for kind of gauntlets, hair, and tried to do a face, a kind of smiling face on there. But I love what everyone has done, and I'm really happy with these. It's just probably the first minutes I've kind of gone, yeah, that's done. That's finished. I'm happy with that. That can go on the table and scare some people.
Yeah, it's table ready.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the water ones. Here's my waters. So this again is blue ink with the electric blue as a highlight. You can definitely see where I've missed bits. But I'm not so worried about that because it allows light to pass through. And it's quite heavy colour on the base.
You've got depth on the base, so I really like that.
Yeah, it's much darker. on the base.
Where it's coming up from the deeper elements.
Yeah. And as Eric mentioned early on, you could drill out the base on these. You could throw an LED under there and really bring these things to life, because you're going to get that light brighter at the base and just kind of going through, picking up through all that translucent plastic and illuminating the mini.
Yeah,
I mean, translucent plastic is awesome for that.
So he's got that eye. Look, if you catch it right, the one on the left, he's got 2 white eyes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does.
Not on purpose, and this one's got black eyes. But
Don't say that. Don't have
sorry,
the accident.
yeah, you see what I've done there?
That looks really creepy.
That's the Bob Ross happy accident.
Own it. Own it.
You own it.
You see the
when somebody's admiring those eyes and they ask you how you did it, you just say, "Hey, I charge for those glasses."
Yeah. Very, very fine detail brush.
This is my. I only did the grey on one. So this is the dark wash. This one I didn't wash at all, but actually I quite like the puffy, gentle effect that this one. It looks better in person than it does.
I can see that. Yeah.
And then this
Like
one,
a Stay Puff.
yeah.
Well, you get that. I mean, think about it like in cartoons and things where you would see an air elemental or air entity being represented by basically white lines.
Yeah, but this looks like fog, like a fog monster.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about this one, just coming out of the fog.
No, that's a
Something
great approach.
So that one was I just didn't do the wash, and then finally I made a start. But you can really, again, whenever you add color, you can really see the detail popping out. So yeah,
These deep cut minis, I'll tell you what, they really kill it with these primed, and like the lack of mold lines is very impressive. There's like only one here.
Yeah, the Earth Elemental has like one mold line, and you can clean that up really well with a few minutes with a X-Acto blade.
So
I was gonna ask about that. Sorry, just quickly. If you were to try and clean up the mold line, will that take off any of the primed stuff? Do you need to go through and prime
Probably. It'll probably take it off.
Just slap some gray paint on it. It's so small.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Vallejo makes primer in a bottle.
Yeah.
I prime. I have the Vallejo surface primer right here. I don't use it very often because I tend to use a black 2.0 that I got about a year ago. It's a really flat black.
That stuff is amazing.
I prime almost all, and when this bottle finally runs out, I'm going to get black 3.0.
Let's get half.
I do Zenith
primer paint, spray paint.
I use white and black.
It is my favorite by far.
Jake, you get to continue to have a think about who you are going to award the gold star to.
Ooh.
In the meantime, Eric, let's have a quick look at your minis. I can see the lightning
let's
one
start-
there. Let's have a look.
Yeah. I'll end with that one because that's the one I'm really happy with so far. So let's start with the water elemental. Let me get. Let's see how it turns out here. I might need to get something with a white background. Here, we're gonna cheat. Hold on, we're gonna cheat. I'm gonna hold the light here and get us some real light here. All right, don't look at me because it's gonna be blown out.
Don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
Do it when you're looking.
Don't look at me. Here, I'm gonna raise this up too. Come on. There we go. Should be able to get a little more light on him now. Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that was really
Is
good.
that shifting paint or something?
No,
Is that
this
just
is wet blending.
Wow.
Nice.
This is the beginning of a wet blend. If I had a piece of white something I could put behind it for y'all, but I don't actually have. Hey, we got a receipt from Amazon.
The way that light is reflecting off it, I thought you had put some object source lighting on there.
I did. No. It's. I mean, it is some reflection, but I did do source lighting for it. You can see it more when I do it this way.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So yeah, I did source lighting for the water.
Well, then that tells you how good it
is.
is. I thought it was your light reflecting off of it.
The face, I painted in the eyes dark as well, and I'm gonna paint the mouth in like a really dark color and edge it in white so you can see the mouth because they give you a mouth. The fire, I saw his, and through just like osmosis, for some reason, I started chasing it. This reminds me of there's a clown that came out for WizKids a while ago. They had like fire hair. That's what it reminds me of. So that's the beginning of that.
That is Ronald McDonald's final form.
Yeah, this is his super form. I'm gonna do this. Maybe I can do this and not set it in the paint. Yeah, there we go. If it gets in the paint, it'll be fine. So I did that. I'm not even close to being done with this one, but I'm pretty happy with the base. Let me flip them around.
Mm-hmm.
This is that Chimera with just a drop of water. It's a really high pigment rate paint, so I didn't have to use a lot. I was pretty happy with it, especially that yellow. I've never had a yellow cover like that or an orange.
Cool.
Okay. But
So
I didn't touch the earth elemental. I know I didn't achieve my homework. I'm sorry. But this is the one I'm really, really digging so far. This is the front of
yeah,
it.
you had talked about putting that lightning on there.
So I got the first base of lightning down. It goes up and around him.
Nice.
And then I'm going to do a white edging to it and then a dark blue edging to it. So you get like a good lightning bolt that goes all the way down.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to stick a light in this guy that flickers.
Nice.
Very cool.
So this is the one I'm happy with. And then the earth elemental is, he's primer gray. So I like the air elemental. He's turning out really, really well. All right, let's see if this readjusts. Yeah, gotta love when you set your white balance automatically, so you don't have to, or not auto, but set it.
We've lost a camera. Someone's disconnected a camera. Who have we lost?
Nope, so. Everything's here for me.
No. Let's try. Yep. Hold on. Let's try. Boom. There we go. Here's my bad.
Was it your camera?
It was my camera. But Jake, would you like to show yours off as well?
No, thank you.
No. That's not how this goes.
No. I'll show mine.
Teacher mode his work.
Here we go.
First up,
here we go.
Is the air elemental, which being the simplest form aside from ERIK's, I think for the most part ours all turned out at this stage looking pretty much the same. For me to finish this off, I will do a couple shades of brown on the base. I like to, more likely than not, what I'll do actually is I'll throw a flat black down, put some glue down, and I'll use some of my flocking materials to make it look more, give more depth to the base. Possibly do something with the cotton balls like I talked about to bring more life to the mini. Although I'm really loving what ERIK did with the lightning effects. Absolutely amazing. For the fire elemental, I got more overall coverage. I'm trying to tell the way that shows.
Oh yeah.
The final stage I just didn't get to because we ran out of time. Is I do have from the Game Wash color line from Vallejo, I have a red wash, and honestly, you all went a way that I've never gone with it, but I love it, which is you put the darker color at the base and then at the ends of the hands and the head. And I think when I finish this off, that's what I'll do with that instead of going all over with it, is I'll use that red wash to darken up those same areas that you guys have done. Excuse me. And in particular, to get into that face, that some of the detail got lost on the face.
Yeah. It all comes back when you do your dry brush.
Yeah. And then for the most part, I feel pretty pleased with where this guy turned out. You can see what I did was I went in, the last thing I did was let me pop them off of there so you can see it better. I did stippling of the cold white along the base where it's all frothy.
Yeah.
To give it a little more of that churned up look, the churning water. And I did not touch my earth elemental, but as I said, I will be painting this guy up. I'm going to go green with the crystals and try to get in there and give him some green eyes, and I will share that on social media.
I have a small little boat miniature that I think I'm going to add to the back of this water elemental.
Oh, that's cool. See, now that I have a 3D printer, I can add anything I want to these.
Yes. Life is just totally different now. Imagine if we could have this when we were doing like commission pieces back in the day. And you're like, oh, hold on. Just give me 2 days to print that for you.
So,
I like your water elemental, Jake.
We're a little over the hour, but Jake, you need to choose a gold star winner. And this is Eric's not included. It is just me, Steve, and Joe.
So am I going
not
from
included?
all
Okay.
of your minis, or are you each picking one that's your showcase piece?
I don't know. It's just I think overall, collectively,
I already got my winner. I got my winner regardless of what you pick. So, I guess in the interest of time, I think you all did fantastic. I think you're lying that this is only your third time painting.
Nope, you can. You can
I
go
do not
back
believe
and
you.
It is for me. Steve's done a little bit. Joe's done a little bit of Warhammer.
But I think regardless, if anything, that just shows that it
Your
takes
skills
very
teacher?
little to get very good and enjoy what you're doing and have table ready pieces. So with that said, the miniature that I think deserves the gold star is going to be the fire elemental that Joe painted.
Well done, Joe. Well done,
Nice.
Joe.
That was my pick as well.
I think everybody did incredible work on the fire elementals. They all looked fantastic, but what I really liked that really kind of made this stand out is the blending from that red through the orange and into that central yellow body. There's just the lines flow, the blending is there. They all of these are going to look great on the table, but this is the one that really stood out to me the most.
Cool. Thank you.
So there you go, Joe. You got the
Thank
gold
you.
star.
Well done, Joe.
Boom.
So what happens when you tally up the end of the season? Whoever has the most gold stars, does something happen?
No.
Yeah, Dave. What happens when I get the most gold stars, Dave?
Nothing.
I think you should have to.
I'll buy
I think
you a
whoever gets the
beer.
most gold stars should have to paint a miniature for charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. No,
Yeah.
Actually, what was it? Jason, was it Jason last week said, oh no, it was Rick. Rick said last time, didn't he, 2 sessions ago, that you should enter a competition.
Yeah, the Golden Demon.
Yes.
Yeah. So Joe.
Crystal brush is gone, which I'm very disappointed about. I miss the old crystal brushes.
So now, you, the audience, thank you for staying with us. You get to pick the runner-up. This is the Silver Star.
Ooh.
Now, with Eric's help, you can either pick me or you pick Steve. Okay? That's it. So,
All right.
pick your-
I gotta pull up chat. I'm pulling up chat. Hold on here.
Steve, are you doing it as a poll or are you going to do it as just a question people can type in? How do you want to do it?
I've done it as the poll and it's up already.
Right. Who gets the coveted second place? It is bragging rights. That's pretty much
There's a
it. really,
comment
bragging
in
rights.
chat already. Second place is just the first loser. That's one of Joe's friends. That's one of Joe's friends, is it? That's somebody you've got on the channel to just get the banner level up.
That's what you're looking at. He's from over on the MTD community.
But I like his style.
He holds the honor of being our first ever Twitch subscriber.
Oh, really?
Subscribed every month since then.
Wow.
That is amazing.
38 months. That's how I know how long I've been streaming. Well, affiliated.
I don't like your style. I love your style.
Somebody's saying I forgot who did what, so should we put them back under the camera? I don't know if you can see it anyway.
They won't see it on this one. You can shove it.
No, they
back
won't.
further.
There you go.
Hey, Brain Beast.
The big one.
Yeah, hi. Hey, Sean, how you doing, mate?
Well, as you're waiting for that poll, I just want to say this has been a blast. This was a lot of fun.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, hopefully it's something a little bit different. Hopefully people can paint along. And the reason that I wanted to do something like this is not because, well, I do. I have a lot of unpainted minis. It's an easy way. There you go. You can never find time. I'm also a parent, and so trying to find in lockdown, homeschooling, day job, and trying to do all of this, and still wanting to have this growing batch of minis painted. This was how I figured it out. You should get professional artists to come on and give me all their help and advice. That was literally the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm And please, I don't think anyone else out there who had done anything like this, so it's a little bit different. But Jake, you are welcome back anytime.
You know, you were lamenting earlier. I don't remember if it was on stream or before we started, but the fact that being in the UK, you get invited to play in certain games, but most of them are happening in the evening, Eastern time. I have, for my friends across the pond, run games on Saturdays and Sundays, and I would gladly invite you all over to Mini Terrain Domain and run a D&D game for you during a reasonable hour your time. Sometime in the future. So open invitation that includes you, ERIK, as well.
Thank you.
Would happily do that. We are going to be running a lot more one shots, and I love running for people I've never run before. So
I would love to do that.
Open invitation for that.
That would be awesome.
Definitely be up for a bit of that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We will take you up on that. We'll
And
get
I'm
that
going
booked
to
in
use.
before the summer.
I guarantee you, when that does happen, the game will feature elementals.
Well, we can bring our own. Yeah, we'll be a wizard and our summon
That's
elementals.
what
There
you'll
you go.
play as elementals.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ooh,
There you
yeah.
go.
Oh, mate.
You each pick one, and you have the ability to sort of, you know, the like the She-Ra magical girl transformations. You'll have a magical elemental transformation.
turn
Listen, I'm a kaiju fan, so
Yeah.
I am in.
There you go.
It's turned into the last Airbender.
There we go. Here's where
And is there
my
a
water
problem with
element
that?
is now.
No, I have no problem with that at all.
So guys, and ERIK, let's make this a thing. We will do that. They've got 4 heroes, 4 elementals.
I'm in.
And yeah, Jake, if
Yeah.
if we can record it or film it live or whatever.
It'll be
you
live
wanna
on
do,
my Twitch channel.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
We're doing it. We're
We'll
doing
make
it.
it happen.
Weekends are perfect for that too.
Hey
so I'm all
Dwight,
in.
man.
Big Bearded Nerd, if you're in chat still, put that on the spreadsheet so I don't forget about it. I'm gonna grab my MTD notebook here and
the only time he writes notes.
The last
I've
Airbender.
learned. Dwight's training me.
The last Airbender.
Dwight's training me. I'm so bad about.
Yeah.
I'm the high I. The creative thinker. I'm quick to say stuff, and he keeps me on track.
Where's our vote at here, boys? Where are we at?
If you guys
So
have got,
it's got about 10 seconds left on it.
Trav Hunter's asked if people can put their Twitch links in our Twitch chat as well. That'd be handy. I don't know if you've got a.
If you click on my name in the Twitch chat, that's my channel.
Same here.
Okay, so
Although
vote
it's
is
not my
over.
Norse Foundry.
Which, by the way, I'm Mini Terrain Domain in the chat, and I just realized I'm not in the chat. I didn't say anything. There, I just said hi.
Well done,
Gave
Steve.
him a little bit of a Yeti vibe
So-
now. He's got like white on the back. Yeah.
So the vote is finished.
Steve has
Gentlemen,
won.
I've written it down. It will happen now.
Let's do it.
Cheers, Jake. So Steve has won the Silver Star. Well done, Steve.
All right.
It's my third Silver Star now, isn't it?
But look at the stars.
One more and I'm a general.
Yeah, but look at the stars. You could, week on week. Again, it's you know, you're most consistent, which is good. There's a good flow there.
It means you're improving every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Improving
I
over
really
time.
enjoyed tonight. I've been really looking forward to painting the elementals. And I tell you what, that 2 hours just it flew by. I didn't even. You said there was 15 minutes left. It felt like I'd been painting for about 30 minutes. It just-
Yeah, it did. It really did.
There's two things I've found that will do that lately. One, miniature painting. You sit down, you think I'm going to paint for a half hour, and 3 hours has gone by. The other one is Valheim. You cannot play Valheim without slipping into a wormhole.
No, you can't. You can't.
I think we just had another follower. I didn't catch it. It was Al.
Ali Capone.
Yes.
Yeah, Valheim has sucked up our server for sure. We have a whole bunch of people from ERIK FRANKHOUSE Presents playing together, and we are just thoroughly enjoying the game way more than we should. It's the adult version of Minecraft.
Yep.
Actually, it's the beard version of Minecraft.
I just saw in the chat, Cole Sparks said, this was 2 hours?
That's good.
Professor General Elias.
Cole Sparks, hopefully that's really good, and that's been fantastic that you've found this entertaining enough to stay with us. But just going to do some quick shout outs to everyone.
Yeah,
in
thank
chat.
you for the subscribe there. What you're looking at.
Yep.
Thank
I
you very
won't
much.
allow Dave to mangle your Twitch username.
I saw that one earlier, and I figured that one out straight away.
Yep, you're one of the first people I've heard that said it without stumbling over it.
Yeah, Dave's got a habit of just brutalizing people's Twitch names.
Our Thursday night entertainment that is.
So Drew, who's at Strength 24, sorry you missed out, man, but we'll get you booked in for another time. So we won't leave you out there. 88 Riddles, we mentioned earlier, because everyone here knows you. Get in touch. We'll put you on, whether it's a painting show, one of the game shows, whatever. Just make sure you get in touch directly.
Yeah.
Okay? So make sure you do.
Acerson is a Acerson, Cole Sparks, what you looking at, Fortnerd.com, they're all from my communities.
And likewise,
so I'm bringing some of my community here to the Band of Badgers family, and happily, that's what we do. We spread the love.
And I think also in reply to yours, you're more than welcome to come on our D&D Pathfinder games as well. So,
awesome.
Jake is already booked in.
Nice.
He's on the short list. We've got a couple of dates already to go.
Cool.
Who else
Good.
We got FT Payer, Grizzly, Jake Bacon, Lemon.
That's my buddy. He's Everston on my show for Tuesday. Our season finale is tomorrow. He is a professional artist as well, but like illustration.
Sean wants to come on. Sean's saying, can he come on as a guest on one of the painting streams as well?
Sean?
Brain Beast.
All right, yeah, Sean.
Oh yeah.
Let us know. You got we've been doing this for ages, man. Just get in touch. Scott.
Let me
Scootity scoot. Scootity Scott. Scootity.
just move my paint palette here.
Toasty.
Sounds like you're having a stroke.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you everyone for joining us. Remember, if you are a designer,
Just before we go, Mr. Chilly was asking who won this. He's lurked and just joined. So Joe got the gold star, I got the silver star, second place, and Dave got best in class award.
yeah, I'm on my own again. I have my gold star, that one, and
I
keeping.
thought your water elemental was really good. Doing that dark bit at the bottom, that was really good. And your stone giant that you sent me earlier was awesome. Your stone giant that you just was really good.
Yeah, I did that on the Sunday, which is just 2 cards.
Oh, nice.
And then
I love that model.
I just painted that one too, just recently.
Cool.
Nice.
But yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us. Remember, if you're a designer, writer, artist or creator, get in touch directly and we will put you on our vast array of shows. By May, we are going to be streaming 7 days a week.
I can't wait.
Yeah, that's not 24 hours, 7 days a week. That is evenings. And we have even more stuff coming. We've got more D&D coming. We've got more Starfinder coming. And, of course, this coming Sunday, we have our first Vampire the Masquerade game. With GM Lee, and then next Tuesday we've got our first Vazen campaign with GM L. So
someone was saying, could you do a close up of the Gold Star Mini before we go?
Who said that? Was that you? Did you just type it in there?
Fortnerd.com was asking about it in the chat.
Oh, right, here we go. We've got to go to that screen, and then we've got to go to. Should I just put mine up? Here we go. That is the gold star winner. I do love the red face mask. It looks. That does look.
I do too. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
Inks over transparent plastic and washes. Who knew, right?
But I was actually a bit worried about painting these because I've not painted anything like this before, and they are really good to paint.
So also the other thing with the transparent plastic is, these were elementals, and I wondered how to do this, but we also have like magic effects on the heroes and the NPCs and the villains, and I wonder what these are going to look like if you pop like a fireball or a firebolt from a wizard. I mean, that's just going to pop.
Yeah, I think the nail varnish is amazing. Yes, I agree.
So thank you very much, and we are going to wrap up there. Remember to subscribe, to follow us on YouTube. This episode will go up again soon. Thank you to Jake. Thank you to Eric. Thank you very much. Both these guys are going to. You'll see them in our other streams. This is episode 4.
This month?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you will be.
I'm this month, yeah.
Episode 4 of 6 for this. The Great British Brush Off. We will be doing season 2 and season 3. So stay tuned for all of that. Follow us on socials.
Are we going to rate someone as well?
Yes, I'm just
Can I
looking now.
do a shout out for our shows and what we're doing?
Yeah, go. Eric, go.
Okay,
go.
cool. So tomorrow is our season finale for Athantia Dark Tides, a Pathfinder 2 play, actual play. It is our 13th episode with Stream Loop cards. I'm super excited. It's flown by. We start at 7:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then next Monday is Story 3 for Fenrir Rising over on Norse Foundry's Twitch. If you want an adult crazy ass good time with me trying to kill off players, come join us for that at 8 p.m. CST. And on the following Wednesday is Scream Sheet Missions, where you help me build the mission to help kill those players.
That's good.
It is a riot.
Go on, Jake.
As I said earlier, you can find me on twitch.tv/mini terrain domain, where we normally run on Monday nights. We're actually taking the night off tonight of our Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage game called All That Glitters. Every other Tuesday night, I can be found over on Dice on Ice RPG, where my amazing friend M run the most incredible Curse of Strahd campaign. We are into 2 years on that. And then every other Tuesday, we're getting ready to wrap up. A week from tomorrow is our finale of our mini campaign, Hope and Redemption, with V, the Crafting Muse, Goblin Katie, Dr. B, and DM Jazzy Hands, who have been playing amazing players in that campaign. We have a new show, Session 0 of Convergence, launching this Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern on the channel, run by the incredible storyteller and world builder Jeremy from Erasmus Expeditions. And our flagship campaign, happening every Thursday night at 8:30 Eastern on the channel, is The Dawnbringers.
Great name.
Again, V is in that. We've got Dan Dillon from Wizards of the Coast plays in that. We've got M, Jeremy from Erasmus Expeditions. Ted from Nerdarchy is also a player in that. And then on Sunday nights, I can be found raising havoc and trying to sneak boom barrels onto our ship in Sea of Thieves over on Talon and Claw. Gary, FortNerd.com here in the chat, keeps stealing my boom barrels or shooting them out of my hands.
Strength 24 and I are going to have to group up with
for
you.
a reason.
When do you guys play on Sunday?
We play from 9 to 11 Eastern.
Oh my God.
And every Sunday night over on Talon and Claw.
We'll have to crew up. Me and Drew are huge Sea of Thieves fans. We play in character.
Right, we're going to bring that to a close, everybody. Well done, Joe, for winning. Well done, Steve, for runner-up. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to you for watching.
Thank you.
Find us on Bandit
Thanks for having me.
Anywhere you go. Till next time. See you later. Bye-bye.
Paint minis.
Yeah.